okay, I don't know how am I going to do this. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. Okay, what have you done in the past? And start there. Was that a good month? Was it a bad month? Take an average of that and put it. It's important. It's more important to have a target than it is for it to be accurate across any market that's going to be in the future. Guys, it's never going to happen. You need to have a target though.
So we are live here today. Guys, whoever's here participating, please tell us city and state you're from. I would love to kind of see where we're getting all our, participants from, where are they, what is it that we're looking at in terms of destinations. I want to know where city and state you guys are from. So if you can tell us right here in the chat box, that would be awesome. And in the meantime, I do want to make my announcement here quick. We are live today. We're going to be talking about how much is it, how much is a rate of pay, typical rate of pay, for ISAs. And we've got some Monique from Exton, if I said that right, Pennsylvania. I'm hoping I said that right. Welcome, Monique. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to introduce everyone here to one of my favorite person, Gus. He is with PowerISA. I've used PowerISA. They're amazing people. They have a great system. And he runs a 120-person ISA team, you guys. That is wow. And we are definitely going to be talking a lot, and we're going to go in depth about the compensation of the inside sales agent position that you're going to share with us. And we'll also cover bases such as salaries, bonuses, and use examples from the US and the rest of the world. So without further ado, welcome, Gus. Thank you so much for being here with us.
All right, Janki, thank you so much. I appreciate that intro. Hey, everybody, in the conference, like Janki said, we actually have a little bit of a treat, special offer for folks they're tuning in today. If you can wait a little bit towards the end of the webinar, hang in there with us, hang in there. I promise it'll be worth your time. I've got a little bit of a special offer for folks. But just to get started, this question about how much should you pay an ISA, right? What should be the compensation for an ISA? We actually got this question in our last webinar that we had a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the training and managing aspect of an ISA. I was on with Greg, and this question came out, and it was really, really interesting. I said, you know what, this is such a good question that I really want to wait until we have a little bit more time to really go in depth, because I really wasn't able to do it justice by doing it in a quick kind of Q&A session. So here we are, right? Talking about how much should you pay an ISA? And, it's probably, I have to say, the number one question I get, across the board when people when they find out that I work, with an ISA company, I run a huge ISA team. How much should it cost me to get an ISA? How much does it cost? Which really means, what's the compensation structure for an ISA, right? So want to jump right into it, and I want to put some, kind of frame the question a little bit, right? Because it's very broad. I want to start by tackling it from the US side, right? We're going to start with an example from the US. How much does it cost? How much should you pay an inside salesperson if you're hiring in-house, you're hiring within the US? And I think it's a really, really interesting question. So one thing you should know about ISA, inside sales agent, is different than other members of your team. How is that different? It is definitely a sales role. It's a sales focused role. Is it a conversion? It's appointments. It's getting deals, getting people to agree to that appointment and close them and get them into the door. It is a sales role. However, it's different than any other sales role within your team because it is a salaried position. Typically, there's always exceptions, folks. I'm talking about the vast majority of cases. It is a salaried position. And if you are a real estate agent, a team leader, right, you run an organization, anytime you add a salaried position to your team, it should give you pause. You should really be paying attention to that, really be making sure that you know what you're doing when you're adding a salaried position, because that person's going to make money regardless, day in and day out, right? You want to make sure that you keep you're always running a lean team. You're always running it high efficiency, big ROI. So ISA is one of those decisions you want to make. You want to make sure that you understand that it's different than any other salesperson in your organization. And it's important to understand that big difference. It is a salaried position. It also has bonuses, right? It should have a base salary that they're going to make regardless, and it should have a bonus structure on top of that, right? That is typically what you see for ISAs in the US and even outside the US. So you see that, and that's normal. What is that split between bonus and salary, right? That's what really gets interesting, really, really interesting. And you should know that. Typically what we recommend, for folks that are hiring ISAs in-house, is that you should have what we call an OTE, on target earnings, right? What is the expected level of compensation that you want an ISA to make within 12 months, right? Not within the first month, not within the first 6 months, within 12 months, right? That is what you should base the compensation of your ISA on. And it should be a split between salary and bonus, right? I recommend when you're penciling this in, you should start with a 50-50 split. 50-50 split, right? Let's assume that if you want them to make $70,000 a year, that's a good rule of thumb. 70,000, that's great. Using Gus's rule of thumb, 50-50 split between compensation, between salary and bonus, it's going to be about $35,000 salary, $35,000 bonus, right? So what does that look like in your market? That's going to be about $16, $17 an hour. And it's going to be, depending on your market, that might be 3% bonuses on closing. That might be a 5% bonus on closing. It could be a lower price market. That could be 10% bonuses on closings, depending on how many closings you want them to do in a year, not within a month, not within 6 months, the whole year. That is how you arrive on that OTE number, on target earnings. And that is a term that's used throughout sales organizations. Anyone that has a salary and a quota, a salary and a bonus structure, what they want to look at is their on target earn. If I hit my numbers, if I do what I'm supposed to do, what's going to be my OTE? That's a really common phrase people use in sales, right? What's my OTE? What's my OTE? Compare it one versus the other.
That is the question I was going to ask you. What does OTE, first of all, stand for? So on target earnings, and it's spread out, and it's spread out through 12-month period.
A 12-month period. If you do what your manager is asking you to do, if you convert at the rate your manager expects you to convert, how much money should you expect at the end of the year, right? So I think OTE is a great way to explain that, because it can be, there's variability in it, right? Not everyone's going to do it. People can exceed it. People can get below it, but you got to put a target in front of folks. You got to put a target. If an ISA, if it's acceptable for an ISA to help you generate let's say two transactions, additional transactions a month that they close appointments and help bring to the table. Let's say I'm going to use a really simple example, folks. I know this is not going to be typical, a really simple example. If your median price for your area is $300,000, I know people are saying, I wish it were $300,000, Gus. Well, in a lot of markets, it is $300,000. I'm going to show you an example. If it's $300,000, typical commission, I'm going to pick a number. Let's say you get a commission check of $9,000 from that deal. That ISA should help you make $9,000 to $18,000 additional dollars per month. $9,000 to $18,000 additional dollars per month. Okay, what percentage of that extra cash do they have to get so that at the end of the year it adds up to $35,000? What's that percentage going to be? And on that kind of an example, it's going to be closer to 10% of what they should get out of every closing. Roughly, right? 10%. If you're in California, I know you are in California, its numbers going to be very different, guys.
Yes.
If you're in my home market of Seattle, median price is almost $1 million right now. And it's shocking for me to say that, right? Because it's grown a lot year over year. It's like $900,000 median price in the Seattle area. So the numbers are going to look very different in Seattle versus Nashville, Tennessee, which has a median price of about $300,000. So I can't do the math for every part of the U.S., but I can tell you the rules. OTE, half of it in salary, half of it in bonuses and that at-risk compensation. And this is going to be different by market. But you know what, guys? I know what you're saying. Gus, I'm going to put this on paper. How do I know if it's anywhere near right? Guys, compensation is not just you writing it down and guessing on paper. You have to compensate with regards to the market. What is your local market offering for ISA talent? local ISA talent. That is another point of reference that you need. And I'm going to share my screen real quick, Janki, so I can show you guys real world example. Let's jump in here and let's make this happen. I'm jumping in. Can you see my screen there, Janki?
Gus, let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
My question to you is, first of all, rewind a little bit and let's talk about, you know, the OTE that you spoke about. In order to have a good OTE, we're talking about, first thing is have a business plan. So you have some sort of a focus on what exactly is going to be your OTE, what exactly is your splits looking like, and then of course you do a reverse roll and then talk a little bit about your targeted income, so to speak, or your targeted bonuses. So first step would be revise your business plan with your ISA. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%, because all of these numbers around compensation, they have to go back to deals closed. It has to go back. It has to make sense with that, right? If you're, in the example we were just talking about, 2 deals per month, your ISA has to be generating 2 deals per month. You can go back and say, okay, how many leads do they need to generate how many appointments do I need to generate those 2 transactions? And this is where and you're totally right, Janki, this is like a business plan conversation. Great. How many leads do I need to have coming in to generate the appointments that I need, that my salespeople could then go and close and generate those additional transactions?
Exactly.
100%. It actually goes all the way down to, you know, how many appointments does it take to sign a client? Like, have them sign as a buyer, have them sign as a listing. How many appointments does that take? Again, folks, if you've never tracked this before, this can be it can be like a daunting task. Holy cow, guys, how am I ever going to do this? But keep it simple, folks. Look, if you've never tracked this before, look at the last 3 months. Don't go crazy on this. Look at the last 3 months and use that as a starting point. Look at the last 3 months and see okay, I don't know how am I going to do this. I have no idea how am I going to do it. Okay, what have you done in the past? And start there. Was that a good month? Was it a bad month? Take an average of that and put it. It's more important to have a target than it is for it to be accurate across any market that's going to be in the future. Guys, it's never going to happen. You need to have a target though.
Right. And here's what I say is that it's LAC, L-A-C, leads, appointments, closings, right?
100%.
You have to know your numbers in order to know what is it that the bonus is going to look like, what is the salary going to look like for an ISA. Now, I do want to make a quick announcement really quickly here. PowerISA is offering a special deal exclusively for LCA members. Now, this is just for LCA members right now. We're not counting what Gus has a special.
That's special for today. It's only today, right? Yeah.
Right. So right now for LCA, we've got $100 off per month for our dedicated ISA plans and $1 off on cost per lead for both calling intensive and startup plans, and $500 off for our new built Your ISA training program. Now, guys, let me tell you, I have worked with PowerISA. They have such an amazing system, amazing flow, and their ISAs are very good. You know, let's talk more to Gus about that, and then we'll answer questions. I know Andrea has a question, which is a great question, Andrea. We will definitely answer that in a few minutes. Let's talk a little bit about not only compensation model. Let's talk about, okay, I have 100 leads coming a month, right? And out of those 100 leads, how many appointments should you expect your ISA to convert or to set every single day?
Absolutely. What is the average? And actually, this is a really, I'm almost going to run this down for like another webinar, but I want to give you a good answer to that. Number one is it depends the kind of lead. That's the real answer, right? Because some ISAs are focused specifically on new inbound leads. That's what they're going to do most of the time, because the team purchases a lot of Facebook leads, Google leads, or they're purchasing some of these very high-priced Realtor.com, Zillow.com leads, right? So actually, and it's a funny story. I just had a conversation with a team leader out of Chicago. They are purchasing, I think they're 5 digits, like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars a month of Zillow leads, right? Zillow leads are expensive. Zillow leads are the top of the top as far as price-wise goes. And trust me, you need to have your conversion numbers on point when you're spending that kind of money to generate deals. You really need to know your numbers. You really need to make sure everything's up. And an ISA can be part of that solution to make sure no lead gets left behind, right?
That's
so
right.
when an ISA is converting those front-facing leads, brand new leads, that's when the conversion rate to appointment can be maybe 10 to 15% on the low end for like a Facebook lead, can be very top of funnel, and 30 to 40% for a Zillow lead, right? I still believe a properly responded to worked a Zillow lead, proper scripting, proper everything, you can convert those 30 to 40% to appointment. Realtor.com and Zillow, they tend to be typically the furthest down the funnel, more motivated leads, and that's what we've seen, right? So, but the cost is very different between both of those. It couldn't be further. I mean, Janki, you're in a team, you know this. If you're going to build your business in 2021, just on Zillow leads, you really got to look at those numbers very, very closely because it can be very challenging. Facebook, Google, yeah, 100%. Now, you can end your business if you don't make this decision properly. Exactly. Where are you going to build your business?
Exactly. And here's the thing with Zillow leads, so any kind of leads that are out there, you've got to stay focused and you've got to do the follow-ups. And this is what the ISAs do, at least on our team, is definitely have a system for the ISA, whether it is, a follow-up system, circle prospecting, inbound, outbound. What is it looking like? We don't have Zillow. We thrive on other systems that we have, which are working fantastically for us, and our ISAs are very productive with that. So let's go right back into Andrea's question: is where are the ISAs based out of, and or we hire them and you train them? No. So here's what happens, Andrea. ISAs are based, and Gus can answer this question, the first part of it, but they do train their ISAs and they help you hire them through their PowerISA company. So Gus, the question is, where are they based out of?
Yeah, definitely. And this is a question about, specifically, PowerISA. We source all of our ISAs in country within Mexico. We only hire, folks that are native English speakers. They grew up and lived in the US. That's our profile. That's kind of what we use and what we've seen kind of work the best for folks. So great question. We definitely hire people, go through our training process. I always, want to set the expectation with folks that the training that's remaining when the ISA joins your team is training on your systems and processes. Right. As a team leader, as a team, as an agent, they still need to learn that aspect of the business, like any hire that goes onto your team, but they're not starting from zero. They're not starting from scratch in that aspect. And we feel it still saves people a ton of time on the hiring, training, managing, and selection process. So that's the PowerISA part of it.
Exactly. And what I do also, Gus, is just to let Andrea know a little bit about what we do is that when we get an ISA, whether it's from PowerISA or elsewhere, whatever it is, we usually do go to PowerISA. They come trained. However, I like to train them my way also to know how my systems are, introduce them to my systems, introduce them to my tools and my leverage pieces and all my technology that I have, and then help them execute properly. I have my own scripts that I'd like for them to use because those scripts are the ones that have been pretty profitable for me, right? So it's how you train them and what do you do for it. Exactly. I wouldn't only leave it to PowerISA. I would also participate in the training part of it, right? Because again, they need to get to know you and how they need to mimic you out there.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also, there's always a part of the team and a part of the campaign that you're always going to be the best person to train them on in that area and that particular market. To answer Andrea's question, they do weekly coaching calls where they listen to their own calls and listen to other people's calls to again refine, sharpen the axe. We always call it sharpening the axe. Listen, and that's how we touched a little bit about this with Greg last time. The fundamental mechanism we use to train new ISAs, intermediate ISAs, experienced ISAs is listening to what a good ISA sounds like. Right. And that comparison of where am I at? What does a great person sound like? And feedback loop. You got to be closer to that, right? Whether that's themselves in a great call, kudos, good job. Or that's someone else that sounds really, really good that time. Or what I love to do is it's rarely that you listen to a call that's the worst call or the best call. That doesn't really happen, folks. It sounds obvious. It's actually not that obvious. I love the calls that sound like good calls, but the ISA makes mistakes. They
Exactly.
they build rapport, they're doing a great job, but something they do is they don't follow that model, they don't follow the training. They sound great, they sound awesome, but they make mistakes on those calls. Those are the ones I actually love.
Let me take it a step back. They're humans.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
An ISA will have hang-up calls. Will have someone yelling and screaming at them on the other hand, on the other side. How much can someone take that, right? They do need to then go back and refocus their mind and say, all right, you know what? Some people, some will, some won't. So what? Move on. That's the theme that I teach my ISAs. It's like, listen, every morning, one of my affirmations, I do 15-minute call with them to jazz them up, or even a 5-minute call sometimes to jazz them up and say, some will, some won't. So what? So keep going. Just if they hang up, next, you're getting closer to many no's you're getting closer to a yes. That is something I tell them. And guess what? That just that motivates them and pumps them up. You need that in them. Another quick announcement, you guys, this webinar is being recorded and will be live and available. Not live, it'll be available on our YouTube channel, LabCoatAgents. Please, if you do need to go, that is completely okay. Just know that this is being recorded and will be available for you. So let's get back right into talking more about the compensation model, Gus. So we talked about business plan, revising with your ISA, leads, appointments, closings. Depends on what kind of leads. We talked a little bit about that. What more can you give us about the compensation? Like, if we were to hire outside of PowerISA, which I don't recommend because that does take a lot of time and training, trust me.
Thank you.
But tell me a little bit about, the OTE and of course the 12-month, spread that you do.
Yeah, 100%. So, going back to it, that OTE number is important to arrive at. It's actually really important to get it accurate. It has to make sense with your business plan. You have to have the leads and expected conversion rates to get you to that number one. And it also has to make sense with the market, which is another piece of it. The making sense with your business plan is something you have to do as a leader, figure it out. What do those conversion rates need to be for you to hit those numbers? But another eye has to be on the market. What is the market, your local market, paying for ISAs in your market? And this is always interesting for me. My home market, where I built my real estate business, is Seattle, Washington. Seattle had two, and actually I want to show you an example. There's a couple of things that are interesting about Seattle. It's one of the hottest real estate markets in the US, has been that way for several years, but it is also in an area that hires a lot of inside sales for some little companies called Amazon, Google, Zillow, and Facebook, right? So my competition to hire ISA talent was competing with those companies. And I had to be very aware of that, right? What is the market? So I was always doing this on a regular basis. Let me show you a quick example of what I did to get that market pulse, to get the beat of the market, what it was paying for ISA talent in that moment. And you can go to whatever job site is popular in your area. For me, Indeed.com in the US is very popular. Actually, in a lot of countries, it's very popular. You can go to ZipRecruiter, you can go to LinkedIn Jobs, find whatever is popular in your area and use that. And you can just go inside sales agent, and you have to qualify it with something like real estate, because otherwise you're going to get ISAs for insurance, for software, for other areas. You want to focus on real estate. What are you competing at with other real estate companies? You want to start there. But if you just type inside sales agent and anything but real estate comes up, that can also be informative for you as well. But I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with my home market, which is Seattle, Washington. And let's jump in and see what kind of information we can get there. So, okay, boom, we got a few results, 9 different jobs right off the bat. I think that's great. That's a good number. And we can see, like, for example, we've got Rexmont Real Estate Group out of Bellevue. We've got, okay, here, interesting, Novak team. Looking at $75,000 to $150,000 a year. For me, that screams OTE. That's not salary, right? That's OTE. OTE, $75,000 to $150,000 per year. That's an interesting piece of data. That's a good OTE. People are advertising that OTE. Great. This one's another one, Maple Valley, Washington. This is not the highest priced area of Seattle. I know Maple Valley. They're saying it's $100,000. Also seems to me like an OTE number, $100,000. That's good to know. In my example, I used $70,000. Just by looking at this, that example is not a Seattle example. Just off the bat, I know that, right? You are not going to get ISA talent in real estate in Seattle paying less than this, right? Here we have another ad. This is from Ben Kinney Companies. They're offering $65,000 a year. This actually seems more like a salary number to me more than an OTE number, because I actually know Ben and his team, and they are super mega experts in the ISA role. That looks like a good one here. And you've got other ones here. So this is what you, oh, here we go. Here one that actually publish an hourly rate. This is very important, right? This looks like a salary number right off the bat. $17 to $20 an hour. Okay, that's really interesting. That's another price point. Okay, if you've got enough. So you can go through these different examples, but just from looking at this, I'm seeing OTE above $100,000 a year in the Seattle area. OTE. Okay, so I think my OTE has to start at 100,000, right? And if I'm following my own formula, my own suggestion of 50% salary, 50% bonus, I'm talking about $25 an hour, roughly. Do the math. It works out to about $25 an hour, which is on the high end of ISA compensation in the US. But you know what? That kind of makes sense because, like I said earlier, it's $1 million for a median price of a home in these markets we're looking at right here. In fact, in Bellevue and Issaquah, I wish it were $1 million. Actually, above $1 million for some of these markets. So that makes sense. That makes sense. It's all kind of fitting together. If that makes sense. So across, and let me give you another example. Let's go back. So this is Seattle, Washington.
You went on Indeed.com to get this.
Indeed, good old Indeed.com. It's probably one of the more popular job search websites right now. It's not the only one. You know, if there's another one that's more tried and true in your area, these websites can be a little bit regional. Use that, whatever you want to use. The example is the steps are the same. But let me switch it up. Let's go to good old Nashville, Tennessee. Different market, very hot market as well. Very hot market as well. But a completely different part of the country and a different cost of living, right? So I'm going to go to Nashville. Look at this, $31,000 to $37,000 a year. This looks like a salary number to me as well, right? This $50,000 on this one. This looks like an OTE. This also might be an OTE, right? 30 to 74 looks like an OTE number. So just off the bat, OTE is 30% less. OTE is 30% less from off the top, right? I'm not even going to a lot more details here. So, I mean, this is really, really interesting to me because the lower end of that number is half or a quarter of what it was in Seattle for these ranges, right? So, okay, that tells me that salary is going to be in the let's say the $30,000 to $40,000 range. That's $50 an hour. $15 an hour. It's a big difference from $15 an hour to $25 an hour.
It depends on your location. It just
100%.
Right. It just depends on your location, where you're at. What is the quality of business? I mean, you know, the median sales price. I mean, there's so many factors that go into this.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So do an exercise like this, or you can even ask yourself, are you closer to a Nashville than you are to Seattle? Then you should be closer to $15 an hour than anything. If you're closer to a Seattle than you are to a Nashville, your hourly rate is going to be in that $20 to $25 an hour range for the market. That's what the market is paying for that kind of talent. So it's a really simple exercise. But again, like I said, you've got to have one eye on your business plan and knowing your numbers, and you have to have another eye on the market. And you have to understand where you are, because to get the best talent, Janki, I don't know what you think about this, but to get the best talent, I am never going to pay above market rates for people. That's just not the way I've built my team. I am going to be competitive against the market, right? I'm not going to be like the 50% less than market value, not that either, but I'm going to be always going to pay slightly below market rate because I feel that I have a great opportunity for folks. And I can actually back that up and go, hey, this is Gus here, right? And I know what I'm doing. I feel that I've built a culture, an organization, a team that's going to give you a lot as a person and grow and have a lot of opportunity. And you should have that. You'd have that approach as well. You should create a company, a team, an environment that lifts people up. Because a lot of people, it's not just about the money, folks. I know it sounds crazy for people sometimes. It is not always about the money. It is about the environment and the culture.
Right. And you just said it. It's about the culture. It's about how they're treated. It's about how they're trained. It's about the growth opportunities. It's so much more that goes into this than just to say, okay, it's about compensation. All right. So we have a question. This is remote position. Why would real estate office hire local while they can easily hire $450 in Philippine per person?
Yeah, absolutely. So and I want to touch on that, right? Because this example is a really simple example of hiring someone in-house within the US.
Right.
And again, totally up to you when you want to hire someone in-house. And I don't know if you saw this on Indeed. There's an option that says remote now, right? This could be, you can hire with the US remotely within the US, right? You might want to hire someone for your team in Seattle, Washington, but that person can be living in Nashville. That always brings up some interesting, conversations about, well, what does compensation look like for a person living in Nashville, but working in New York, in the Los Angeles, or in a Seattle? Right. The answer is whatever the market, is offering those folks. So definitely, it's a great question. Why would someone hire a US-based person versus someone that can? So $400 a month is about $2 to $3 an hour in the and that's a great segue into virtual ISAs, right? So let me just finish. I'll wrap up. I'll get to that question. I just want to wrap up the US-based US in-house discussion. US-based ISAs are always going to be the higher cost. I mean, let's just be honest about that. It's going to be a higher cost. It's going to be different. There are folks that have built their teams with everyone being in their office, and they don't want to deviate from that. And I 100% respect that. I understand that model. I get it. And this is the only option for them. And this is how they've built their teams this way, and they're going to grow that way. Awesome, mad respect. Given everything that's happened last year and a half because of the pandemic, because of COVID, I feel that things have changed, right? Absolutely. I think that the technology and necessity and the situation has really opened the door for folks to work remotely, whether that's in the US, which is one option, or even outside the US, right? So I think that things have changed. And I have a feeling, Janki, that I don't think we're ever going back to be 100% the way things were in February of 2020. I think a lot of this is going to be permanent to some extent. And I think teams are always going to ask that question from now on that they didn't ask a year and a half ago. Do I want this to be an in-house position or an in-house work from home remote position? Is it going to be flexible work from home, or is it going to be permanent work from home? If it's going to be work from home, are we going to hire inside the US, or are we going to hire outside the US? I think a lot of folks never made those questions, at least not the way they're making them right now. Right. And I think it's really changed things a lot. So, with regards to what's the difference between, that, let me go out and give you examples across the world, right? When you're hiring people virtually outside the US, the rules are different, right? Very different than what I just explained before. Number one of the main differences when you're hiring someone in-house based in the US, there's licensing requirements for that, right? 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%, right? So in fact, those licensing requirements might extend, beyond, regardless of where the person is based, right? So understand your local rules and regulations, check it out. Because if you have a requirement in Washington State and you're hiring someone in Nashville, you're still required to follow the rules of Washington State. Let me just be really, really clear with that.
Because they're working in Washington.
They're working under your license. You're on the hook for that person. Yes. Whether that person is in the Philippines or in Mexico or in Nashville, Tennessee, you're still on the hook for hiring that person and bringing them onto your team. So know your local rules and regulations. That's a good practice. So you want to make sure, because a lot of these US positions, if you're compensating on closings, in a lot of states, it is required that they're licensed. It is required that they're licensed, okay? So that's really, really important to understand. Are you in a state that requires that or not, okay? So when you talk about folks based outside the US, the conversation shifts. It's no longer necessarily about OTE. It's no longer about OTE. Yep. Let me say it a different way. You can have an OTE. I no longer recommend a 50-50 split between salary and bonus. It's not necessary, folks, because the cost of living is so we just saw a dramatic cost of living difference between Seattle and Washington. Imagine Seattle and Manila, Philippines, Seattle and Mexico City, Mexico. I mean, the difference only gets larger, right? Just the base salary can be 80 to 90% of OTE. 80 to 90% of OTE can just be their base salary. That's really, really big difference, folks. It's a really, really big difference, because the cost of the salary, depending on where you hire folks, it can be Philippines, which I think is probably going to start at $2 to $3 an hour. It can be Mexico, which is multiples of that. It's a higher cost. And it can be folks within the US, which can be essentially the same salary range when it comes to salary. So it is a big difference. I will say this. The skill set that you find in Philippines, in Mexico, and in the US, as far as English skills, sales skills, the US in my experience, has always been the easiest to find those skills.
Right.
I'm just going to go out and say that. And I run a company, a massive ISA company outside of the US, folks. I'm just being very honest with you. The amount of people I have to talk to in the US, candidates, qualified candidates, to find someone qualified for this job is typically going to be 2 or 3 candidates in the US, if I put my filters on right. In Mexico, I have to talk to about 15 to 20 people to find a qualified candidate. 15, 20 apparently qualified candidates to find someone that can do this job, that I believe can do this job, goes into the training, et cetera. In Philippines, and if I've done this less in Philippines than I've done in Mexico, granted, but in Philippines, it is, again, double or triple that number to find someone qualified to do this job. So again, that is one of the big differences. That's why the cost is different. That's why the process, I think, is different. It just depends. What's the best fit for your company? That's a great choice, for you to make. You can always want to compare apples to apples. One thing that I think Mexico and Latin America has a huge advantage of over Asia is a lot of folks in Latin America grew up and lived in the US, right? So you're going to get that native English accent, which is very, very challenging to get anywhere else. And that's why you see a lot of folks hiring virtual assistants, inside sales agents, transaction coordinators. I mean, you name it, people are always looking for folk, that kind of talent in Mexico and the rest of Latin America. That's my opinion. I'm very biased because I'm from Latin America. So like, always go out there and compare on your own. Don't take my word for it. But take it from a guy that has a team of 120 ISAs, that has hired hundreds of ISAs in the US, in Philippines, and in Mexico. Those are the key differences that I see. Bottom line, I feel you kind of get what you pay for, right? $2 an hour versus $6, $7, $8 an hour in Mexico versus $15, $20, $25 an hour in the US. You're not, those people, in my very humble opinion, are not perfectly interchangeable. So the question that we got earlier, why not just hire a Filipino person versus someone in the US? If you understand what you're doing, you're gonna figure out that's kind of a tricky, that's kind of a little bit of a question that you don't kind of know what you're talking about if you think it's just interchangeable. Someone from the Philippines for $2 versus someone in Nashville for $15. That is not an even switch. I don't believe it is. I don't think anyone that pays attention would say that. So bottom line is, understand what the limitations of each option are, understand the needs of your team, and make the best choice for you guys.
Exactly.
Right?
What is it that you're looking for? What is it that makes sense to you? What is practical financially as well? That is 100%. Something that you have to decide. So quick announcement, PowerISA is offering a special deal exclusively for LCA members. Link is powerisa.com/LCA. And I know Gus has something of a surprise for everyone that is here that stayed the webinar. I think he has some special pricing. Gus, do we want to reveal that now, or how do we feel about that?
Oh yeah, we're getting to it. 100%. We're going to get to it. A couple more things I want to say too, because we talked about the U.S. compensation. We talked about the virtual outside the U.S. ISA compensation. Now, but there's one big topic we haven't talked about that I think is worth mentioning: bonuses. Right? Bonuses for your ISA. Because we just said, oh yeah, just bonus in the closing and you're done. Folks, it's never that simple. So I really want to talk about bonuses because this is typically where the hourly rate is harder to mess up. It's because either you get candidates or you don't, right? You can adjust that very, very quickly. Messing up your bonuses can really trip you up, down the lane, right? So I want to talk about that a little bit. Like I said, typical ISA compensation is going to be bonused on closings. When you hire someone brand new into this role, when it's your first ISA, you really want to be careful with that bonusing on closings, because when someone comes into a team that has never had an ISA, maybe they don't even have a proper lead pipeline set up yet, having that person get some of those closings before the 6-month mark is very unrealistic, in my opinion. Very unrealistic. You got to be realistic with folks when you tell them about that on-target compensation. That first commission check can take 3 months I think is the minimum it's going to take to arrive. Typically, you should prepare a brand new ISA that they're not going to get that closing check, that closing commission check, until they are 6 months in the role, typically. So you want to prepare people for that.
Tell us why.
Oh, because if they're coming in with no pipeline, first step is build a pipeline, right? And that can take months. Let's just be really honest with that. If they're joining a team like Janki, like a team that's already built, established, they know their numbers, they're buying a bunch of leads, they have a system in place, of course a number can be different. But I would tell folks, because I see a lot of folks mess this up initially, where they go really low on the base salary, they go competitive on target, on the closing percentage, and it just doesn't work out for them. The base salary is too low. People will not wait 6 months making $5 to $10 an hour, waiting for that compensation to come in later. So you want to be careful with that, right? Another thing, should you bonus? Another question I get very frequently, Gus, should I bonus on appointments or any other intermediate piece of the pie? Should I bonus or not on those intermediate measurements, right? I think that is a key, unbelievably important question, because there is very little things that the ISA has more control over than those initial numbers. How many leads you convert into appointments. That is probably in the whole process what the ISA has the most control over. So I always have a little bit of a concern when the ISA is only making salary and bonus in the closing, when what they control almost 100% is that those initial conversion rate numbers. So again, this is coming from the Gustavo school of, of bonusing ISAs. I recommend having a bonus structure based on conversion rate, and having a floor, like a minimum. So ISA, if you do at least this number of appointments, have a floor, because if they're doing one appointment a month, you're not going to bonus them on one. If you pay per appointment, I'm not going to pay. You didn't do your job. You didn't show up. Why would I bonus you on one appointment if you only did one appointment, right? That's nuts to me. Percentage of appointments kept versus how many leads they received. Percentage of appointments kept, not set. Do not make that mistake of bonusing an appointment set. You will motivate someone to set as many appointments as humanly possible if you compensate on set appointments. Folks, if you've done this, you know the difference. Quality over quantity. Quality over quantity with a minimum. That protects you against the quantity question. You have to have them, if you do these many appointments a month, and your conversion rate is at least this percentage, in my opinion, ISA should get a fixed bonus for that, right? And that can be, again, depends on the situation. It can be $100, it can be $500, it can be $50. Again, look at your situation, look at it. It shouldn't be thousands of dollars. It doesn't make any sense, but you should compensate them for doing the right leading indicators, the activities they have the most control over those first 6 months.
So you said percentage kept versus
leads received.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yes, exactly.
Right. And of course, appointment set is phone appointments that when you convert them, and that's exactly what we do on our team, is that our ISAs convert at least 5 appointments a day. What does that mean? 5 phone appointments. They're setting 5 phone appointments for us daily. And again, it depends on your training. It depends on your
100%. That kind of a goal tells me that that's a quality database, right? Those are high converting opportunities, and if that's a reasonable expectation, it means that they're generating XYZ number of leads, or they have a database of XYZ amount of leads that they can call and achieve those numbers, right?
And our ISAs are constantly focused in on what is it? The scripts, the role plays, and again, as a leader, you just can't leave it up to them to do everything. You've got to be participating. And that's how this week she's already converted 8 phone appointments for us, just one ISA. So you just have to make sure that PowerISA can only do so much.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
But you have to coach and train them according to how you want them to. I'm a big believer in that. As a leader, you need to be not constantly, but at least 2-3 times a week. And I do our affirmations every morning. So that it's a whole system that we do. And that's what it's seeing the success that we are.
And plugging someone into a system like that, I think would have a certain expectation. And like I said earlier, if they're plugging into a brand new system, never had an ISA before, I would definitely adjust that goal. Instead of 5 a day, it might be 5 a week when you're starting out, right? Within the first 30 days, within the first 60 days, you want to kind of ramp up to that. Every case is a little bit different, but the principle I think remains the same. what is that? They should have a goal, an amount of appointments. Again, the percentage translates into an amount. Like if for Janki, that number turns out to be 5 a day. That's awesome. That's amazing. For you, it might, for you, listener of checking this out, you might have a different kind of lead flow. It might be 1 a day for you. That's an outstanding result of getting 1 appointment. Always make sure you're tracking not just appointments set, appointments kept. Because at the beginning, your ISA is going to have maybe a 50%, 30% appointment kept rate. Because that's how you start, right? That's okay. That's fine. Okay, awesome. You want to make sure they have to learn what that looks like. The and if their compensation is tied to the quality appointments versus the flaky appointments, that is the best way that I've seen to get them on the right track. Like, oh, holy cow, what? Okay, they're not going to waste their time with the unqualified people. They're not going to waste their time with the bad leads that are going to no-show, and they're going to waste everybody's time. If their bonuses is tied, if their livelihood is tied to the quality people, they're magically going to find more quality people.
So 2 questions, one from me, obviously. Are you on Facebook? And I know that answer, but I know people are going to ask that question. Are you on Facebook? And another question through Facebook came in on, are you guys on Instagram, Gustavo?
We are, and I'm going to be super, you're going to see, an issue here. We have an Instagram account. I don't actually manage it. My content gets put on there and we put everything on there. I'm not the guy actually running it. I'll paste it in the comments here below, and I'll put it in the notes. You can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, obviously, because that's where I spend all my time, on Facebook. I'm a millennial, folks. Forgive me. I'm a millennial, older millennials. I'm not the huge Instagram. I'm useless on Instagram, but luckily my team isn't. So my team helps me put stuff on it.
You and I both, guys.
It's just not my thing, man.
We're the old school, yet the new school. We're right in the middle. We're trying to fit everywhere we can, right? Anyways, anyone that is still here, please know that this is being recorded, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, LabCoatAgents. You guys will get amazing webinars out there and so much knowledge. This is where I started all my education, my growth, and here I am today. So Gus, we're right up around the hour. Can you please reveal the bonus that you're going to be sharing?
Here we go. And and I think we've gotten through it. I think we're there. We've got all the material we wanted to hit. I do want to make one special offer for folks checking this out. It's a special offer for anyone signing up with PowerISA from here to the end of the month, the end of day on August 31st. If you sign up for a dedicated ISA campaign or our Build Your ISA course, you get a free one-on-one session with me, Gus, so I can help you work through some of these problems, some of these issues. Awesome. Customize the program. What are your leads looking like? What does your business plan look like? What does your conversion plan look like? An ISA is a key part of that plan, but if not plugging into a successful system, the chances of them being successful can be really low. So if you sign up with PowerISA in the next 6 days, a little bit less, a little bit of a week, on to end of day of August 31st, you get a free one-on-one session with yours truly, Gus from PowerISA, where I can consult on you with your lead pipeline, your scripts, your team structure. You want to talk about San Diego Padres baseball, whatever you want to talk about. This will be your time. Chat with me about it. I'd be happy to do it. And that's the special offer that we have going on towards the end of this month.
Wow, that is awesome. I look forward to that, Gus. So any other participants, I'm telling you guys, and anyone that's out there listening to us, this is a great company, PowerISA. They have amazing training that they do with their team, and their offer, I would hands down take it. If you are just a starter looking to get into this ISA world and getting to know what it's all about, I would encourage you to do it. That's how I started, and now we're up to about 3 ISAs on our team, and it's only a mother-daughter team, by the way. So, awesome. The success starts with our ISAs, ends with our ISAs. The training starts there, the training ends there, and I am very, very much so about focus, daily focus. So you have your lead generating time, your lead conversion time, your follow-up time, but that should be your ISAs doing it, not you necessarily. So PowerISA has been a huge part of it. Thank you so much, Gus. Talk soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate that, and definitely hope to see you everybody soon.
Absolutely. Talk soon. Bye-bye.